Put yourself in position to win big on Kentucky Derby Day with the power of daily racing form. Visit shop.drf.com and get past performances, expert picks, betting strategies, clock reports, and more. Again, that's shop.drf.com. Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a closer look at Kentucky Derby contender Derma Sotogake. Now, one of the last remaining Derby jinxes, Mike, is the UAE Derby jinx. They've all just about fallen by the wayside, but the UAE Derby hasn't been a very productive race over the years. Maybe Derma Sotogake breaks the jinx. He was very impressive winning the UAE Derby in gate-to-wire fashion, although it has to be noted, there's no running on going behind them. They ran 1, 2, 3 all the way around the track. And you could make the case that the rail and speed did very well in Dubai on World Cup Saturday.
Yeah, that's the real issue with wanting to believe that this, the curse that you mentioned there in the Open is going to go away this year with this horse who does feel like he's pretty talented. But we'll just start off by saying that. It was a visually impressive win, Dan, but as you've already pointed out, he just had all the best of it that day. And it makes me wonder if he's not a little bit dressed up now for a horse who it kind of feels like he's getting a lot of buzz off of that win.
Oh, he is getting a lot of buzz off of that win, and he's already at Churchill Downs, bedded down, one workout already, a half-mile breeze. I think you have to ask yourself, is this horse going to be a front runner now? And if that's the case, isn't the pace just likely to be faster in the Kentucky Derby than it was in the UAE Derby with more quality pace horses? And Derma Sotogake might not have it as easy.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if that's going to be their plan on the first Saturday in May, it seems like it's pretty unlikely to work out like that. That being said, if you just go back and watch basically any of his other races, Dan, he's not a horse who they were putting on the lead, and he was running fine without it. He had pretty good tactical speed. It felt like as he was progressing through his races towards the end of last year, it felt like he was just getting better every time they sent him out there. He was very handy in those races. He was also pretty game, had to come through between horses in a couple of those spots. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't look at him like a confirmed front runner now, but it's nice to know you have that in your pocket if you need it.
He has a very versatile and classy pedigree. We all remember his sire, the popular Mind Your Biscuits, who was trained here by our buddy Chad Summers and won 2 editions of the Dubai Golden Shaheen. Now, he was a sprinter. This dam, however, was a listed stakes winner in Japan, going 10.5 furlongs. And there's a nice mixture of speed and stamina in the bottom of the pedigree. The dam, a half-sister to a Group 3 winning sprinter in Japan, as well as a Group 3 placed turf router. Derma Sotogake, you have a feeling you're not going to worry about stamina with this horse. He's already won, 2 races at 1 mile and 1/8, 1 at 1 mile and 3/16. He'll stay.
Yeah, the distance is probably the least of your concerns at this point. Now the question is, how does he class up as they move him in to face some better horses? Because let's be honest, even if this Derby doesn't, feature sort of that standout 3-year-old this year, Dan, this is going to be a tougher race for this horse. And, listen, he was good last time with a really soft trip. I don't know, if you have an excuse for his race 2 back in the Saudi Derby. It's not like it was a terrible performance, but he never really made any inroads off of a good trip there. And I'm not really sure how strong that race was, Dan. So what did you think of that performance?
I thought the Saudi Derby race, the distance was a little bit sharp and maybe he didn't break very well. I also think that the track at Saudi, just some horses really like it and some don't. For me, I thought it was just a fitness builder, where the UAE Derby, I wonder if that's an interesting point that we haven't actually discussed, Mike. I wonder if the UAE Derby was actually the main goal for this horse and that the Kentucky Derby is just icing on the cake. It's going to be interesting to find out.
I guess that's a fair point. I hate looking at horses like that, but I suppose that could be a possibility. I got to believe if they're showing up here for Kentucky, I think that's a race that they probably wanted to make, Dan. I don't feel like I would look at him thinking that he's already accomplished his goal. I just think it's going to be a real question. It's going to be interesting to find out how he fits with some of these, better American horses.
How would you compare him to the Japanese horse we saw in the Santa Anita Derby, Mandarin Hero? To me, this horse was on the main circuit, the JRA circuit. He was facing really quality competition. While Mandarin Hero's form was brilliant in Japan, it was sort of on the local circuit, and I question the kind of horses he was facing. And then he shows up and he runs a big race at Santa Anita. Is it possible this horse is 2-3 lengths better than Mandarin Hero? That makes him an automatic contender in the Derby.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that's one of the takeaways when you start taking apart that Santa Anita Derby last time. Because right, it feels like everybody thought that this horse was a lot better than the horse that just missed in that race. So, listen, if that's the case, obviously Derma Sotogake is going to be a pretty compelling horse. Come the Derby, I still can only see. Here's the problem, that I can still really only judge him off what he's done on the racetrack. And while I think he's pretty good, I just can't get interested in this horse off of his last race.
The Japanese horses have dominated the international racing scene for the last several years, whether it's in the Breeders' Cup, whether it's on Saudi Cup Day, UAE Derby races on Dubai World Cup Day, the Dubai World Cup itself, even the Hong Kong international races. We'll see if Derma Sotogake can break the UAE Derby curse in this year's Kentucky Derby.